being ruthless because I really, really need space on my shelves. Hi everyone, my name's Chloe, welcome back to my channel. Thank you for being here today. Today's video is going to be an unhaul. I haven't done one of these in a while. I started filming one in January, and I am going to insert some clips from that in a minute, because basically in January I was like, right, new year, I'm going to start and I'm going to like sort out my room. I'm going to sort out, there's a load of books that I know I don't want anymore, and I pulled off sort of like the ones that I knew I definitely don't want, a lot of ones that hadn't even made their way onto my shelves, but I'd like read them and not loved them, and I was like, right, I don't need to find a home for them. So I pulled a lot of them off, and then most of them at this point have actually disappeared from my house, whether they have been sold, passed on to someone else, donated to charity, various different ways. And I filmed a clip then, because I was in like a filming evening, when I sort of picked them all off my shelves to get rid of, and I filmed them then saying like, I'll do this now and then I will do like a proper sit down intro and I'll add some more to it in the next week. And it's been like, what, 2 months, and I just haven't done that until this week, when I decided one evening that I was going to be productive. Actually, it was one day I had a day off work and I was like, right, I'm going to be productive today. And I was listening to audiobooks, and I was supposed to just be tidy, and I was supposed to be starting with just like the general clutter in my room, and then I realised that there were still piles of books places, and until I moved the piles of books I couldn't sort out the clutter. So I decided to go through all of my shelves and do like an actual unhaul. So there is like a fair amount of books here to talk you through, but I'm hopefully not going to linger on them too long. I'm just going to show you which ones I'm getting rid of, like a brief idea of why I'm getting rid of them, but I'm going to try not to ramble. I feel like I've already rambled in this opening clip. I am also going to say, like, before I start showing you the books, like I said, half of these books have already left my house. The rest of them will be like leaving my house in the next couple of days. I mean, I will say, if there is anything like in this section, like the bit where I'm actually sat down filming it like this, that you have your eyes on and you want to see if you can like get that from me in some way, feel free to message me. I can't guarantee it will still be there. Like, I might have already got rid of it, but you know, we can see if we can figure something out. The ones from the January clip, most of those have actually like completely left my house now. Like, I can see the pile that's left and it's not very many at all. But anything from today may still be available if you would like it. But also I'm going to say sorry if any of these books are books that people really love. I know that some of them are. It's just ones that I either have not loved myself or not loved enough to keep anyway, or they're ones that I've just lost interest in, and I know my reading taste quite well, and I'm not going to keep something that I'm not going to want to read because I need the shelf space. So right, that's my disclaimer done, so let's start talking about the books that I am unhauling. First, let me insert the clip from January where I will show you the books that I got rid of then. Please excuse if the lighting is not great at the minute. I would normally get my actual ring light out, but I decided to do a spur of the minute unhaul today. And as I will have already explained in the previous clip that I'm going to film after this, I just kind of grabbed everything off of my shelves that I was like, yes, I definitely want to get rid of that. And then what I'm going to do is next week, hopefully, is go through my shelves properly, reorganise things, and then I will like finish my unhaul and I will talk you through anything else that has been taken off the shelves. But for today, I had already filmed something and I'd already had my lights out and put them away, and I couldn't be bothered to get them back out again. So I thought I would just do a quick show of the... There's actually quite a few books here that I'm planning on unhauling. Some of them have actually been off of my shelves for a while and they've just sort of been hidden under a footstool thing that I've got. And I've decided now we're actually going to put them all in one place. We're going to get rid of them. So there is no sort of order to these. It's literally just how they are in the pile, because I've just kind of grabbed them and thrown them there. And I will talk you through what I'm unhauling and why I'm unhauling. I will have already done a disclaimer at the beginning of this, but once again, I'm sorry if any of these are your favourites. They are just not books for me. I think the majority of these I have actually read, so this is the easier stack to do first. The first one is Dark and Hollow Star by Ashley Shuttleworth. This was a Illumicrate book. I read it. I think I gave it 3, maybe 4 stars, but it's probably a 3 sort of looking back at it. I have no plans on continuing with this series, so there is no point in me keeping the first one on my shelves. Next up we have Crave by Tracy Wolfe. I know a lot of my friends love this. I enjoyed it for what it was, but again, I don't think I will ever plan on picking up the rest of the series. It's just not really my style of book, so I will be unhauling this one. Cinderella is Dead by Kaylin Bayron. I gave this one 3 stars. It was okay. I just felt like the idea was better than the execution, and I will never reread it. It's not really something that I need to have on my shelves, so I'll be getting rid of this one. But then I ended up getting the set when they did the re-release when the Atlas Paradox went on sale, so I have got the pretty Illumicrate editions, and I do think it's nicer than the Fairy Loot one. I didn't get the Fairy Loot of the sequel, I didn't get the standard of the sequel either, so I'm just gonna get rid of both of those ones and just stick with my Illumicrate ones. And obviously we'll see how the last one in the series goes, because if it doesn't redeem itself, they might all go. We will see. Speaking of ones where the last one in the series kind of ruined it for me, we have a duology, which is A Song of Wraiths and Ruin and A Psalm of Storms and Silence. I really love this first book. I gave it 5 stars. The second one was 3 star. I just felt like it was a lot of it was unnecessary, and although I love the covers of these books and they look really pretty on my shelves, it kind of upsets me looking at them because I really didn't like this concluding part of the duology, so I'm just going to get rid of them both and save space because they are chunky. The next one I actually haven't read, but I'm not getting rid of completely. I'm just getting rid of one copy of it because I was keeping my second copy thinking that if I like it but don't love it, I will like sell the prettier one, and I'm like, no, to be honest, even if I like it and don't love it, I'm gonna want the prettier one rather than the Waterstones edition. So I'm gonna get rid of the Waterstones edition of This Woven Kingdom. Haven't read it yet, so we'll see if I like it or not. I may end up getting rid of both of them, but there's no point in keeping this one because it's just got sprayed edges, and the Illumicrate one is gorgeous, so I'm just gonna keep that one on my shelves instead. Also, I haven't looked at getting the sequel for the standard edition, just gonna get the Illumicrate one. So if I'm only planning on getting one version of the sequel, what is the point of me keeping 2 versions of the first one? I'm getting better at this, I promise. The next one is one that I have 2 copies of, and I thought it was going to be like a favourite book because I really loved the first book I read by this author, but it wasn't quite as good as I wanted it to be. I like it enough to keep 1 copy on my shelves, but not enough to keep both. So I'll be getting rid of one of my copies of An Arrow to the Moon by Emily X.R. Pan. This is just the standard UK edition that I had pre-ordered from Waterstones before I knew it was going to be an extra book from Fairy Loot, I think it was. Whichever book box it was, their version was like a greeny colour with sprayed edges, and it was very pretty, so I kept that one. This next one is just a random one that I picked off my shelves because I remember reading it and I enjoyed it, but like it's not one that I need to have on my shelves. It is The Black Kids by Christina Hammonds Reed. Like I said, there was nothing sort of against this book. I think I gave it 4 stars, but when I was sort of going through and thinking, did I love it enough to keep it, this was just one where I was like, it's not really something that I think about, so yeah, we'll get rid of that one. Okay, a different camera angle because I managed to just break my tripod, so I'm gonna have to hold it for the rest of this video. The next one that I'm getting rid of is one of my most disappointing reads. If you've seen my last wrap up, you'll know that I didn't love this. It is Wolf Song by TJ Klune. This is a really pretty Waterstone special edition. I would kind of like to keep it on my shelves just because it's really pretty, but I really did not like this book. I gave it 2 stars, so it needs to be not on my shelves basically. The next one is actually also a disappointment. It's one that came in a Illumicrate and I read it and I just did not love it. It is She Who Became the Sun by Shelley Parker Chan. I don't know why, it just felt very strange. I didn't feel connected to any of the characters. There was a scene that everyone talks about that just came out of nowhere and I was like, okay, this is happening now. And yeah, I'm never going to reread this and I'm never going to carry on with the series, so I'm just going to get rid of it. Although again, those are just beautiful. I hate having to get rid of the pretty ones. This is a really like chaotic video. I'm just going to like keep changing angles because I've had to move now so I can actually reach the books that I'm showing you. We are near the end though. So the next one I'm getting rid of is actually an arc, but it's an arc that I've had for a while, and it's an arc that I got just because Fairy Loot used to put arcs in their early boxes, and it is Furyborn by Claire Legrand. I started reading this last year. It was something that Becca put on my TBR on like when I asked people to give me books with TBR Mash, and I started reading it and just really could not get into it. I've got the audiobook and I kept thinking like, oh, I'll go back to it at some point, and every time I think about going back to it I'm like, no, why am I doing this to myself? Like I just really didn't enjoy it. Like nothing like bad about it, it just wasn't a book for me. I felt like I was bored for a lot of it. It didn't really, like, I kept getting confused over which character we were following because I was drifting off because it like wasn't holding my attention enough, and then I'd have to rewind a chapter to figure out whose perspective we're in because there's 2 different perspectives and timelines. And I was just like, if it's taking me that much effort to read it, I'm clearly not wanting to read it, so I will be getting rid of Furyborn by Claire Legrand. I don't think the next one really needs too much explanation from me. I'm going to be getting rid of House of Earth and Blood by Sarah J Maas, the first one in the Crescent City series. We all know it wasn't for me. It needs to go off my shelves now. It's taking up some room. Yes, I did read that like halfway through last year and keep it just in case I needed to talk about it in any sort of like tag videos for the end of the year for like books that I didn't enjoy. We've gone past that time now, so I can officially get rid of it. Then we've got some more where it was just ones where I was like looking at it and thinking these don't need to be on my shelves anymore. Like I didn't love them enough to keep them. The first one being Legendborn by Tracy Dion. I don't think I'm going to carry on with this series. There's nothing that's sort of making me want to go out and buy Bloodmarked. I thought it was okay, but it took a while for me to sort of get my head around exactly who everyone was exactly like who everyone was with like how the whole magic system works. And I liked the main character, but I felt like none of the other characters were particularly fleshed out. And yeah, just don't have any inclination to continue the series, so I might as well get rid of it. Then we have 2 books where I've actually read the first one, had the second one to read for ages, have never picked it up, thought it was a duology, and then suddenly there's a 3rd book coming out like about 5 years after the last one, I think it was. If I can check actually. 4 years, 2019 the last one came out, but still it just feels like a long time between books, especially when I haven't even read the second one. It is The Bells and the Everlasting Rose by Danielle Clayton. I enjoyed The Bells, but like I said, I've just never picked up the Everlasting Rose, and I think I would need to reread The Bells now to read the second one, and I don't think I'd like it as much on a reread like many years later, because the first one came out in 2018, so that one has been 5 years, and I just don't think it's a book for me anymore, so I'm going to get rid of both of those. We are very nearly at the end now, so I've got another 2 books here, but I have actually read both of them this time, and it's just ones that I don't really need to keep on my shelves. It is The Ravens and the Monarchs by Cass Morgan and Danielle Page. I, like I said, enjoyed these enough, but I will never reread them. They don't need to take up space on my shelves. I've got the Illumicrate version of the first one and then the standard edition of the second one, because I basically just bought the second one because I felt like I needed to continue it, like just to finish off the duology. But they were never ones that I was going to like need to display on my shelves. I think I always knew that I was going to unhaul them once I finished that second one. So let's get rid of it now, shall we? And it's really starting to hurt my arm holding this camera up, so I need to be quicker. The next one I've got is Paperbacks Witch by Lorna Harper. This was fine, but like nothing particularly memorable about it. I read a couple of like witchy romance books last year, and I feel like I remember the XX more than I remember this one. And apparently this one is going to be a series, but I'm not entirely sure if I want to carry on with it. If I do, I got this one for like £3 in the works, and I can probably get the second one for that much as well. So I'll probably just do the same thing, get it and then unhaul it after I've read it. So this one can go. Then we got one that was on my self-destruct list. I put it on my TBR in December and still had no inclination to read it, so I think I need to admit that I'm not going to read this book now. It is A Sky Painted Gold by Laura Wood. I did actually hear something good about this one, so I put it on my TBR. Some couple of people were like, oh, it's really good, but I still had no intention to read it, so I might as well just get rid of it. And then the last book I'm getting rid of, I'm not actually properly getting rid of, it's just that when I got my edition of it this month, it was the Fairy Lou adult book. Mine came a bit misprinted, so it is Emily Wilde's Encyclopedia of Fairies, and I don't know if you can see that. It doesn't really show up that well on camera, but these sprayed edges are all really blurry. They're not like as crisp as they're supposed to be. You can see it when you compare it to the one that I've just got, but I've just actually put that on my shelf, so I found a space for it, because I will be keeping it, but obviously I'm going to keep the replacement that they've sent me, so the misprint will find a home somewhere else. Actually, I've just realised I've said that's everything, and I've just seen 2 more books that I need to go and grab, so bear with me 1 second. Okay, this is everything, and actually these are the ones that I think may get me in trouble, or at least one of them will. One of them I have a legitimate explanation for. It is The Savage Song by V. Schwab, the special edition one. And the reason I'm getting rid of this is actually because I have 2 copies, because I cancelled an order for one from somewhere and they still sent it me accidentally, but then I never actually got charged for it, so I've ended up with 2 copies because I'd already ordered it from somewhere else. So this one I'm actually going to be gifting to Meg because she hasn't bought this yet, so I've said that I'll send it her way. And I will also be gifting this next one to Meg, which I think makes it slightly better that I'm getting rid of it, because I know that some people are not going to be happy I'm getting rid of it. I'm going to be unhauling Legends and Lattes by Travis Baldry. I enjoyed this, kind of, like I gave it 4 stars at the time, but it's not something I ever think I'm going to reread. It's not really my sort of book. I love that people love it. I love that people love it so much, but it's just not a book for me, and I think it should really go to somebody who is going to very much enjoy it, especially with this being like the original like indie published version. I think it would be nicer to go to somebody who will actually enjoy it, so I will also be passing this on to Meg, because I think this is the type of book that she will enjoy. So it's going to a better home at least. Please don't hate me, Lisa. Please let us still be friends. Thank you. Right, that is actually everything, so I'm going to pass you back to Chloe from the future, who will have hopefully some more books for me to unhaul. So that was all those ones. I honestly can't remember everything that was on it. I can remember a few, but it's going to be fun for editing, Chloe, to see what I actually got rid of then. And now what I will show you is the books that I'm getting rid of this week. So they are in no particular order, other than I've kind of stacked them by paperbacks and hardbacks. So we're just going to start with the paperbacks because they are the ones closest to me. And yeah, some of these I've read, some of them I haven't. The first one I have read, and it's just one that I don't see me rereading. I don't really need it on my shelf, and that is I Wish You All the Best by Mason Diva. I read this a few years ago and I did enjoy it, but it's just been sort of sat on my shelves. Like I said, I don't want to reread it. I don't think of it as a favourite, so I'm going to pass it on to someone else who hopefully will love it. Now we're getting to some that I haven't actually read, but I'm getting rid of. The first one being Where the Crawdads Sing by Delia Owens. So I saw the film of this, and I actually bought the book before the film came out and was hoping to read the book before I saw the film. Didn't get a chance to. Still went to see the film because my mum wanted to see it, and I enjoyed the film enough, but like now I've watched it, I don't feel like I need to read the book. It's not one where I'm like dying to get more information from it. Also, like, problematic things with this author, don't particularly want to read it. I got it because it was really cheap in the works, but I'm just gonna let it go to someone else now. Another one where I saw an adaptation of it and I bought the book thinking that I would want to read it, and then afterwards I'm just like, actually I'm not sure if I ever want to read this. It is The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime by Mark Haddon. I saw the play of this and I really enjoyed the play, and like I said, bought this off of the back of that, and it's been like 4 or 5 years maybe since I bought it and have not picked it up, so I don't see me doing that at all in the future, so I might as well pass it on somewhere else. Another one that I haven't read, this one is by an author that I've read from before, and at the time I was really interested in it, but it's YA fantasy and I'm just moving more and more away from those, and again I just don't particularly have an interest in it, so I'm going to pass it on, and that is Ace of Shades by Amanda Vude. I did really enjoy Daughter of the Burning City, but like I just don't, I've read the back of this and it just doesn't intrigue me. I believe it's the start of a series as well, so I'd be tying myself into more books and I just haven't got time for that. And yeah, as I said before, just not interested, so going to pass it on. Next up I have one that I have actually read and I did enjoy it, and I may even carry on with this series, but I ended up listening to this on audio, and to be honest I don't feel like I need this series on my shelves. I will probably just listen to the audio for, I don't know if there's 2 or I don't know if there's 1 or 2 left after this, but it is Viper by Bex Hogan. I read it last November. I know I read it last November because it's still got a West End read slip in it, and like I said, I enjoyed it enough. It was actually a book that Becca picked for me to read, and I think I gave it 4 stars, so it was a fun time, but I just don't particularly need it taking up space on my shelves, and like I said, I don't really need to like have physical editions of the rest of the series, so might as well get rid of this one. It is a signed copy though, so hopefully someone will love it and appreciate that about it. A few more that I haven't read now, and the running theme with these seems to be ones where they were like on offers in Waterstones. The buy one get one half price table was like not great for me. I mean, it was great. I picked up loads of books, but there were quite a few where I picked them up just because I wanted to like complete the offer. Where I used to work, I used to have to walk past Waterstones on my way home, and I used to call in a lot and just buy books for the sake of buying books a lot of the time. And some of them I read and some of them I found like favourites that I wouldn't have necessarily expected, but some of them have just sat on my shelves for years, and that is what these ones are. So the first one is Flawed, which is a novel by various different authors, various different YA authors, and I had read from a few of them before, and that's what interested me about it. It's basically 7 stories. It's about these 7 people all getting a lift, and then something happens in that lift and all of their lives sort of are intertwined together, and I just don't reach for it ever. Like I've never once looked at my shelves and gone, oh, that's one I should read next, so I just don't really see myself picking it up, so I will get rid of that one. The next one is one that I think is actually on my self-destruct list this year, but I've just decided to get rid of it early, and that is Run Riot by Nikesh Shukla. I got this one because it was, I think, on like an advertised table in Foyles once, because I'm pretty sure this is also a signed edition. Yes, it is. I think the author had recently been in and they were sort of hyping it up in there, and it sounded intriguing at the time, and again, I've never picked it up. I feel like my mum might have actually read this one when I got it, but then I've never gravitated towards it, and like I said, it's on my self-destruct list, and I'm looking at it and like, I'm not going to pick you up this year, so I might as well just get rid of you now. Some of the others on my self-destruct list, not that I've actually started reading any of them yet, but some of the other ones actually still like actively appeal to me. This one just doesn't. The next one I've got is another one that was on a buy one get one half price table, and it was because I was very interested in one of the authors because it's written by 2 people, but then I've read another book by this author and really disliked it, so it's put me off picking this one up, and it is Watchers Rise by Renee Watson and Ellen Hagen. So I read another one by Renee Watson and I can't remember what it is, and I'm going to guess it doesn't tell me on here. No, it doesn't. But I read another book by Renee Watson and didn't love it, and it's just put me off reading this one, so I might as well get rid of it because I'm likely to not pick it up. And then the next one I have is one I bought in the works, where I was definitely sort of just wanting to see what the hype was about, and then after the minute I bought it, like, I regretted it, and it is It Ends With Us by Colleen Hoover. I have no interest in reading Colleen Hoover books. I don't know why I bought this. I mean, I'd like to say I do. Like, there was hype, definitely. Like, obviously we all know the hype around Colleen Hoover books, and particularly on like Book Talk and things like that, and I think I just saw it and it was cheap, and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna try it. Like, if any of them intrigue me, it's this one. And just, yeah, like, the more I hear about her stories, the more I'm like, why would I want to read that? So I'm just gonna say goodbye to it. Okay, so next up we have one that I have read, did enjoy, and again it's sort of a thing where I probably will continue the series, but I don't necessarily need it physically. Also the fact that this one is actually an arc, and if I got them physically, like if I got the next one physically, it's not going to match anyway because this is bigger than a regular book. It is The Stormcrow by Kaylin Josephson. I read this one last year because Jem picked it for my TBR, and again I did very much enjoy it. It's a YA fantasy, but it has like a little bit more to it. It deals very well with like mental health and grief, and I really enjoyed some of the things it did, and like I said, I probably will carry on with the series, but again I read it on, but again I listened to the audiobook, so I can just listen to the audiobook for the sequel and don't necessarily need this on my shelves because it kind of doesn't fit anywhere either. It's taller than a regular paperback and it irritates me trying to find a place to put it on my shelves, so might as well just get rid of it somehow. I have to figure out how to get rid of this one. Obviously with arcs it's a little bit different, but not going to be on my shelves anyway. Now we have the first of our subscription box books that I haven't read yet, but I'm getting rid of because I either should have skipped them on, for in this case it was an extra book and I feel like I was probably interested in the monthly book that month but not the extra, and it is The Ivory Key by Akshaya Rahman, and again it's a YA fantasy which I'm moving away from. I've read the synopsis and it doesn't sound like anything that's particularly appealing to me. It doesn't sound like anything that I've kind of not read before, and I just am not gravitating towards it, as has been the theme with all of these, so I might as well try and pass it on to someone who actually will want to read it. The next one I bought because I wanted to give an author another chance, having not really loved another book that I read by her. But again, the more I sort of look at it, the less likely I am to actually want to read it, and it is Defy the Night by Bridget Kemmerer. I read the first book in the Cursebreaker series. Is it A Curse So Dark and Lonely? I should know that title and you may see why in a minute. But I read that one and it was okay, but I didn't feel like a great need to carry on with the series. And then I decided to buy this one because this is the series that is completely separate from that. And again, YA fantasy, not necessarily something that I'm reaching for that much, and just nothing about this is particularly appealing to me at the minute, so I think I'm just gonna get rid of it because the second one's already out now. Like, I'm really behind. I bought this as it came out and the second one's already come out and I haven't read it, so I feel like that's telling me something. I definitely didn't just get to film the next two books that I was getting rid of and go, actually I may want to keep those on my shelves, and one of them I'm still debating, which I feel like means that I should probably keep it for now because if I get rid of it I'll probably end up regretting it. But this next one I am actually getting rid of because there is no reason for me to have the third book in a series when I don't have the first two, and this one isn't actually my fault. Like, it's not like I went and actively bought the third book in the series. I subscribed to a subscription box that happened to send out the third book in a companion series as their first book that they did. It is Illumicrate Afterlight. It's the only paperback that Illumicrate has done for the Afterlight box as well, because since then they've done all hardbacks. I think they said at the beginning like they were hoping to do hardbacks, but it would depend on like popularity of the box and things like that. The box has been quite successful for them by the looks of it, so they've started doing hardbacks instead. But the first one they did was The Heart Principle by Helen Huang, and it was a paperback that basically just had yellow sprayed edges. That was sort of the exclusiveness about it. It did have a signed booklet as well, and it came with an offer letter. But I read this and I did enjoy it, and I enjoyed this entire series, but I listened to the first two on audiobook, so I don't own them physically, and I don't really see the point in me owning The Heart Principle and not owning The Kiss Quotient or The Bride Test, and I not felt like a need to buy those physically since I read them, and I read those ones quite a few years ago now, so I feel like I should just probably pass this one on. I think if I was gonna get them physically I'd probably get the new set that they've just put out with the hardcovers of all three, but even those I've looked at them and gone, I don't need to own these, so I feel like that's telling me to get rid of this one as well. The last three paperbacks that I have are actually all ones that I've read and I just don't want to keep them on my shelves. The first one being one that I've actually already spoken about today. It is Daughter of the Burning City by Amanda Fude. Like I said, I read this one a while ago, enjoyed it at the time, but it's not necessarily something that I need to keep on my shelves. Like, it's been tucked away in a corner so you can't even see it, so I'm like, yeah, let's just get rid of this, let's make some space. It was fun to read at the time, but it's not a favourite, so I don't need to keep it. Same with this next one, which is To Kill a Kingdom by Alexandra Christo. I did enjoy this one, and then there's been like a sequel or something set in the same world that's come out recently, and I thought I was really excited about it, and then when it came out I just like did not have an inclination to actually go and buy it, and I feel like that's telling me something. So again, like, enjoyed it at the time, not a favourite, does not need to be on my shelf. And then the last paperback I have is Hani and Issue's Guide to Fake Dating by Adipa Jagudar. I enjoyed this, I gave it a 4-star I think, but again, not a favourite, don't really need to keep it. I haven't like gravitated towards buying this author's other books at all, and yeah, I just don't feel like it needs to be on my shelves at the minute. So that is all my paperbacks. So I'm going to get onto my hardbacks now, and this is where we're going to start to see a lot more box books, because I subscribed to Fairy Loot a while ago, and Illumicrate actually, like towards like very early in Fairy Loot and Illumicrate being a thing. And Fairy Loot in particular I subscribed to for like 2 years at that time, and then I stopped getting them. I think it was when I moved to London because it was like a money saving thing, and then resubscribed to both of them in like different ways during the pandemic, because I had a bit more income, because I had a bit more sort of spare income. And since I've resubscribed, I've been a little bit better about actually reading the books that are coming. I say that I didn't read a lot of the Fairy Loot ones, which is the issue, and which is why I'm no longer getting Fairy Loot YA, because I wasn't reading their YA books. And it turns out I still had a lot of their YA books from the first time I subscribed many years ago, and I've been holding on to them because it feels like bad to get rid of like the subscription box books, because obviously the subscription box aren't cheap, and like I feel like I should read them, but also like I didn't actively pick these books. Like these were ones that were sent to me and I didn't know if I was going to like them, and years later I just decided actually some of them don't really need on my shelves, so I'm actually going to be good and get rid of some of them. Some of them are actually from the last year, some of them I'm just like, I should have skipped this month, I'm going to get rid of it. And also these are the ones that I'm more likely to try and sell in some way. I won't sell them for extortionate prices, but at least try and make my money back on them a little bit. So yeah, let's start talking through some of these. The first one is a subscription box book, and it is from last year, but I will say I have got multiple copies of this one, so I'm keeping one of them, and that is The Book of Night by Holly Black. So this is the Illumicrate edition. I have got the Illumicrate and the Fairy Loot edition, and I decided that overall I prefer the Fairy Loot one. I do really love the naked hardcover for this one, but I prefer like the end papers and the dust jacket for the Fairy Loot one, so I'm going to keep that. Haven't read either of them. Really not sure if I'm going to like this book, but I like Holly Black as an author enough that I'm not just going to get rid of it altogether. I am going to give it a try, but I thought I should only really have one copy. So I honestly, because I'm fairly confident I'm not going to love it enough to have multiple copies of it. So I'm just going to keep the Fairy Loot one and get rid of this Illumicrate one. Then we've got an old Fairy Loot one. You can tell it's an old Fairy Loot one because like there is nothing like customized about it at all. It is Fire and Heist by Sarah Beth Durst. No idea what this is about. Remember not being interested in it when I first got it, but I kept it just because. It is a signed copy. That's basically all you used to get from Fairy Loot ones, is that they'd be sometimes hardback when you could only get them in paperback, and they'd be signed. Literally just been sat on my shelf doing nothing for, let me see, when was it published? 2018. It's been 5 years and I've not read it. Time to get rid of it. Next up we have one that was in a subscription box, but I actually got it at Yalk 2019, and that is The Beholder by Anna Bright. I was interested at the time. I've read the synopsis now and it still sounds vaguely intriguing, but I've heard bad things about it from friends that I trust their opinions, so I am just gonna get rid of this one because again, it's been sat on my shelf for 4 years, haven't read it, let's get rid of it. I have realised I'm saying this is Fairy Loot, it could have been Illumicrate, I had no idea, because apparently this next one is Illumicrate from 2018, and that was about the time that I sort of swapped from getting Illumicrate to getting Fairy Loot for a while. But this one's definitely Illumicrate. It says it on the back. It is Empress of All Seasons by Miko Jean. Again, just been sat on my shelves since 2018. No interest in it. A lot of these at this point I wouldn't be able to get matching ones for the sequels because a lot of them came out in hardback through the subscription box and then came out in paperback for the sequels, because at this point they weren't doing matching sequels for most of them. So like, so with quite a few of them, if I wanted to carry them on, I'd be having mismatched copies anyway, so what's the point in keeping them on my shelves? But yeah, I'm going to be getting rid of this one. Now we're getting some of the more recent ones that I'm getting rid of, but it's just because I don't have interest or I've heard bad things about them, which is what the first one is, and that is The Unbroken by C.L. Clarke. So this was in Illumicrate. Illumicrate did the Sapphic Trifecta, which was this one, She Who Became the Sun, and The Jasmine Throne. I read She Who Became the Sun. Have already got rid of it. You should have seen it earlier in the video. I didn't love that one. Have not read this one. Have not read The Jasmine Throne. I've heard bad things about both this one and The Jasmine Throne, but I've also heard some good things about The Jasmine Throne, mainly from Meg, and I'm gonna give that one a go just to see what it's like. This one I've heard bad things about from multiple people, so I'm just gonna get rid of it. I have no interest in reading it. The next one was a Fairy Loot one from last year, I believe, and that is Year of the Reaper by Michaela Lucia. This is one where I got it and immediately I was like, I should have skipped this box, and I think I meant to skip this box and I just forgot to do it, and I just really have zero interest in this book whatsoever. Also, like in the first thing, and also in like the first paragraph of the synopsis, it talks about a plague that spread across the land. I was like, and this arrived last year, and I was like, really, like still very much at the height of the pandemic, and you're sending out a book that's about a plague. Fun. that may have put me off reading it at the time as well. So yeah, I'm probably never going to reach for it, so I'm just going to get rid of it. I feel like this next one is one that, again, I know I wouldn't be able to get a matching set of, so I might as well just get rid of it. And if I want to read it, I'll probably, most of these, if I want to read them, I'll just pick up the audiobooks. This one I think was Fairy Loot, and it is Mirage by Samaya Dowd, another one that I have owned since I want to say this one's 2019. No, 2018, 5 years, and have not read it. Let's get rid of it. Running theme of this video. Now, this one was I think this one was a Luma crate, maybe. Could have also been Fairy Loot. There is an author letter with this one. Oh, it says Fairy Loot. It says Hey Fairy Looters at the top of it. This one is State of Sorrow by Melinda Salisbury. Again, one that I know I can't get a matching cover of, so might as well get rid of it. And if I really wanted it, I could pick up the paperbacks. But again, just not read it since I first got it in 2018, I'm gonna guess. Yeah, exactly. Not going to explain it anymore. This one's 1 year later, but it's 2019, but it's the same concept. It is To Best the Boys by Mary Webber. No interest in it. Not read it in 4 years. Gonna get rid of it. Okay, we're going to step away from BookBox books for 1 minute, and we're going to talk about Little Fires Everywhere by Celeste Ng. I bought this when it first came out, hence why it's a hardback, and had heard things about Celeste Ng as an author, thought it sounded good, and then just never picked it up. And then I tried to start watching the TV show and was not interested in it, and I'm like, I feel like that is a sign I will probably not enjoy this book. Let's just get rid of it. So this one will be disappearing somewhere. Back to BookBox books. I think this one, let's see, is this 20, I'm gonna guess this is 2019. Yes, 2019, also Fairy Loot, and this is Circle of Shadows by Evelyn Skye. Again, I think one that if I wanted to carry on with the series, I would have to get a mismatched copy. Have not had any interest in it. Going to be disappearing. Okay, now I'm back to one that only came last year, but again, I just probably should have skipped this box, but I just didn't. I think it was the second adult Fairy Loot one that they sent, and I was just like, oh, I'll see what it's like. But I believe at the beginning a lot of their adult ones seem to be more YA crossover, and I've just not picked it up. And it is City of Dusk by Tora Sim, and to be honest, I don't particularly love this copy of it either. Like, I think the only difference in it was that it was like the colour scheme was the opposite way around. It was also the time where every book they sent out for the adult one just had block sprayed edges, and it was like, I feel like you're not doing as much for the adult as you are for the YA. That's changed now. Like, the adult ones that are coming now, obsessed, but this one just was not overly enamoured by. Like, that's pretty, but other than that, like, that's pretty, doesn't match the rest of the colour scheme, which is irritating, but other than that, just like not really gravitated towards it. I'd say it doesn't match the rest of the colour scheme. There is some gold on here, but I also don't like that. Like, I feel like the gold doesn't go with the greys and the black. Like, I feel like it should be silver. I don't know, it just, I clearly don't love this book. I clearly don't love this book for how it looks, and I have no interest in like the actual story of it, so I'm just gonna get rid of it. Finally, a hardback book that I've actually read and I'm getting rid of because I didn't love it and won't be carrying on with the series, and also I can't get the rest of the series in a matching copy, so why not? It is A Curse So Dark and Lonely by Bridget Kemmerer. I enjoyed this enough, but I could just happily like leave this story at the end here. I don't really need to know the ending of it. It just wasn't something that was like grabbing me and being like, oh yes, I need to continue on with this series. I didn't get the matching copies because this is the hardback version of it. I never got the matching ones, so there's kind of no point just keeping this on my shelves. It's been hidden away in a corner, so I will pass it on to somebody else. Okay, we are getting towards the end now. We've got more subscription box books from 2018 that I just don't have interest in, so I'm just going to breeze through these really quickly. So first we've got Grace and Fury by Tracy Bankart. Not read it in 5 years, let's get rid of it. We've got Beyond a Darkened Shore by Jessica Leake, same thing. And then the last one in that group of books is La Samsara by Kirsten Cicerelli. Same thing, also definitely know with this one that I can't get matching copies. I would have to get paperbacks for the rest, so might as well get rid of it. And then I have two more books to talk about, both of which I actually got like fairly recently. I think one of them was middle of last year, one of them was like December the year before. That one being one that I actually have read, and it is Where We Go From Here by Lucas Rocha. When I read the synopsis of this, it sounded like something that I would really love. I ended up buying this in the half price hardback sale that they did after Christmas at the end of 2021. And I also had the ARC of it at the same time, and I literally bought it one day, and 2 days later I read the ARC and I gave it 3 stars, and I was like, oh, that's disappointing, but at least I didn't pay full price for the hardback. But now I really don't need it on my shelves. It was actually like, the storyline was good. It was just that the storyline was actually really good. I don't know if it's because it's a translated piece of work that I don't know if like some of the writing felt really clunky, and I don't know if it's just a translation of it, but I didn't love it and don't really need it on my shelves, even though I do really love this cover. But yeah, we'll get rid of it. And the next one I have is another Violet one from last year that I don't particularly have an interest in, but also when I did go to look at it to see like if it was a series and if I'd been needing to buy more of them, because I don't want to like keep one that I'm going to have to tie myself into buying the like Fairy Loot edition of the sequel just in case. And when I went to look at that to see if it was a series, I saw the US covers and I much prefer them to the UK cover, so I'm like, if I do want it, I'm just going to go and buy the US cover because it's prettier. So that is The Darkening by Sonia Mara, and yeah, this one's got like pretty stenciled edges, but I really like the US covers, so I'm tempted to like try and listen to this on an audiobook and then rebuy it just for the US cover because it's pretty. So that is all my books. I'm not counting how many it was because between this and the last clip, I can't actually figure out how much it is right now. I may, if I can be bothered, editing Chloe may have put up a number here for you to see. But yeah, it's a lot of books. It's hopefully, well, I say it's hopefully going to make a lot of space. It's I managed to fit everything on my shelves now, and there is a tiny bit of space left. But yeah, still an issue. But well, we're getting there. We're making progress. That's the important part. Right. That is everything. Again, sorry if I've offended you by getting rid of some books that you really love. Please don't try and like convince me to keep any of these because most of them will have already gone at this point. But thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff down below. And I'll see you guys soon with a new video. Bye.